Good evening to all the undead ghouls and monsters. We are your horror hosts for tonight's Last Rites. What is up, Monster Squad? We are back after a long hiatus of... Not sure why we were on hiatus, but we're back.
Yay.
So tonight, we are going to be doing a 4-part episode, and it's going to be 4 individual podcasts. But today it will be episode 18, and we are going to be doing movie reviews. We have Five Nights at Freddy's, Lisa Frankenstein, and Stop Motion. We also have a new little segment that the pirate suggested, and I actually thought was a good idea, and I think Ollin also thought it was a good idea. What we're calling the Mount Rushmore of horror. So we're going to do a little segment before every podcast. Basically choose our top 4, and we're going to have it broken down into multi-categories. And today is going to be horror directors. So we have our top 4 horror directors. Also, if you guys don't agree with our picks, put it in the comments. Let us know who you picked and why. You want to start off with the your list, or do you want to just do them together, like 1 and 1, 2 and 2, or how do you want to do this?
Yeah, let's do 1 and 1.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Or I guess we'll go backwards. We'll go from number 4 to number 1.
Okay. Sounds good.
You start. Who's your number 4?
Directors. My number 4 director, I got Lucio Fulci, I think is how you pronounce it. He's Italian. And he did that movie Zombie, which they called Dawn of the Dead 2 over there in Italy because that's how they marketed.
That's funny.
It was Dawn of the Dead by Romero, and then Lucio Fulci made his zombie movie, and they just made it, it's a sequel. Let's make it a sequel to the other zombie movie. Nice. And they just call it Dawn of the Dead 2. And I even have, when I bought the DVD, it came with a poster, an Italian replica of an Italian poster with the same image in the DVD, but it said Dawn of the Dead 2 in Italian.
Nice.
So that was pretty cool. But Lucio Fulci, he made a couple of horror movies that were really cool, but my favorite by far obviously is Zombie.
Right on. That's funny that you would choose an Italian director for your number 4, because I also chose an Italian director for my number 4. My number 4 is Dario Argento.
Oh yeah.
You can't have good Italian horror without Dario. He my favorite. I haven't really seen most of all his stuff. I've only seen like a handful of them. But Suspiria, obviously hands down is one of the best.
Classic.
Deep Red I saw, and I saw Inferno.
I've seen Tenebrae. That one's good too.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I gotta get the pirate to start getting me the Argento collection, so that way I can start watching them. But yeah, I love his style of horror and suspense. Just so out there, a lot of gore, a lot of build up.
Yeah, no, the 70s were really great for horror, especially in Italy. All the special effects and practical effects were always really, really cool.
Was he only known for Zombie?
Yeah, he was mostly famous for Zombie.
Oh yeah, he's got The House by the Cemetery. I saw that one. I didn't know that was him.
Oh yeah, that's him.
Yeah, I listen to a lot of other like horror podcasts, and they're always talking about their like top lists. And there's a couple movies in here that I see that come up in those lists, like City of the Living Dead and The New York Ripper.
Yeah. Another one that I really like was The Black Cat, and I initially bought that DVD at Fry's because I thought it was gonna be like version of Edgar Allan Poe's The Black Cat. But no, it's a completely different thing, but still really cool movie.
Demonia, was it Demonia?
Yeah, Demona.
And Enigma.
Yeah, very prolific.
He did a lot of movies in the 80s.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have to probably get him to do downloads on both of those then.
Yeah, Lucio Fulci, he also pretty much similar style,
Who's your number 3?
I got Sam Raimi.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. He, obviously, the Evil Dead movies, Army of the Dead, my favorite.
Classic.
Yeah. He has this style where like he is really good at balancing horror with comedy, and I don't know. He just he does a really good balance in those two, and you can't really call him. He's more of a horror director than a comedic director, but I like how he brings levity to a lot of his movies in that way, and I really appreciate that from him.
My number 3 is Wes Craven.
Ah, yes.
So Wes Craven
Of course.
for two big reasons. He started off with The Last House on the Left, and then came to Nightmare on Elm Street. So he didn't have very much success on the first one, but then on the latter, it obviously it popped off. Everybody loved Freddy, and then like we talked about before, where like kind of horror was dying out. I feel like he's the man who should be given credit for the resurgence.
Yeah, revitalizing the genre. Yeah,
with Scream. If it wasn't for Scream, him and Kevin Williamson, I don't think horror would probably be where it's at.
True.
I think it would still be trying to climb the ladder back up to where we're at now, because we've got so many good horror movies out now.
Yeah, you're right. The '90s were a little sketchy there for a while, and a little hit and miss for the horror genre. But
even like the late '80s. I mean, like I said, it was like anybody and everybody who was like putting out a movie. It was just they wanted just to put out a movie, just to have a horror movie out.
Yeah.
Tits, ass, and blood.
Right. the winning formula.
Pretty much. Okay, who's your number 2?
I got Guillermo del Toro.
Interesting choice.
Yeah, his horror movies. I just rewatched. What was that called? Then I forgot the latest one, the newest one. It's not.
The Cabinet of Curiosities.
No, that's a series. No, his movie. Here, let me pull it up.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of what his last thing is. Like when I hear his name, like instantly Pan's Labyrinth. Keeps popping in my fucking head, and I know that's not his last movie that he did.
Nightmare Alley, 2021.
I didn't see that one.
So that one is really cool. It's about a guy played by Bradley Cooper who has a sketchy past. You see it in the first. It wouldn't be a spoiler. You see it in the first movie. He buries his dad and burns down his house, and so you start seeing like, okay, so what's going on there? So he ends up at a carnival, and he becomes a carny, and he becomes one of those mentalists. We're in the 1940s at this point, and he becomes a famous mentalist, but then really weird things start to happen. He starts to trick people, but like the tricks that he performs sort of become there's nothing supernatural. The weird thing about this movie is that it's Guillermo del Toro who always does supernatural. He does vampires, monsters, things like that. And this one, there's monsters, but all the monsters are humans. You know what I mean? It's like the monsters, the monstrous things that humans can do is mostly what I got from this movie. And the cast is incredible. You got Kate Blanchett, who does an incredible job in this one, like she always does. Toni Collette, and Rooney Mara, who has become sort of like a muse to Guillermo del Toro. She's been in a couple of his movies lately. Yeah,
I see Mary Steenburgen's in it too.
Yeah.
She's a pretty well-known actor. Paul Anderson looks like just some random character.
Right. Yeah, he plays the geek that
Ron Perlman.
Obviously Ron Perlman.
Yeah.
He always works with him ever since
Hellboy.
Even before that, there's this movie called Kronos that he made with Argentinian actors. Yeah, that one is. I think that was the first time I ever noticed Guillermo as a director. That's a vampire movie, and it's like a completely different take on a vampire movie, on the vampire genre.
Oh yeah. I remember the name. That's been on a couple of the people's lists.
Yeah,
and I didn't know that was him until they mentioned his name.
Yeah, Kronos is an incredible movie. Of course, his Hellboys were really cool. He did Mimic, I think.
Yeah, that was on one of the lists too, which I didn't know was him. And
Yeah.
I love that movie. I saw it in the theater.
Yeah, me too. I remember that one.
I love Mira Sorvino, so
Yeah. And of course, he did one of the Blades. So he's been around for a while, and yeah, definitely one of my favorite horror directors.
yeah, I definitely say he's well-rounded. I don't know why he didn't make my list.
Yeah, I'd say he's well-rounded. They call him El Gordo.
No pun intended. Okay. My number 2 is Alfred Hitchcock.
Oh wow, yeah.
Even though you can't really say that his movies are really like horror,
Yeah.
because I think more of them as like thriller.
Yeah.
But there'll be people out there that'll want to argue that fact. They'll want to say yes, he's horror, or he was like the godfather of horror, basically.
I would say so.
Getting it ramped up for everybody, from the 40s, 50s, and 60s. Yeah, he made so many good movies, and he made a lot of movies too. I mean, he was like pumping them out at one point, just like left and right.
Yeah, he was the guy.
Yeah, and they were really good. But I think he was the precursor to what our horror is. Getting that suspense out there. And then I think it obviously knocked it out of the park when he did Psycho in the 60s.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I love Hitchcock. I think I have almost all his movies, like in multiple collections, just on DVD.
Some of my favorite quotes are Alfred Hitchcock, just the things he says about the he deals in fear a lot. He deals in scary things a lot. So I like what he says about a closed door being way scarier than actually knowing what's behind the door, right? And just the way he manipulates suspense in a way that it makes you truly uneasy, and it's true fear. It's true fear, and I would say that's horror.
Yeah, I think he mastered the complete effect on film of showing nothing but still giving you something.
Right.
You don't see the kills in Psycho, but they're happening, and then you see like the after effect of it. So it's all left up into your imagination, of how it's going down. He's phenomenal for putting that out there.
Yeah. He really did build a lot of at least my sensibilities when it comes to horror. And listen, I'm the biggest gore hound you're gonna find, but the way Hitchcock always presented that goreless horror is the finest thing you could see.
Yeah. Okay, now down to the number 1.
I have George A. Romero, just because I'm a sucker for zombie movies, even the bad ones, and even George Romero had a few bad ones, and but nevertheless, my favorite director. Basically, the godfather of the zombie genre as we know it today.
Nice.
There would be no, and even Robert Kirkman has admitted, or pretty much said it publicly, there would be no Walking Dead without George A. Romero.
Yeah, I mean, look at Night of the Living Dead compared to like zombie movies that came out before it, and the reason they call them zombie movies is because they were like mostly set like in like New Orleans and very like voodoo-esque.
Yeah, it was the voodoo zombie. Yeah,
so the voodoo zombie is completely different than the reanimated zombie.
Right.
Yeah, but for them to still use the same word, it's funny. Because to me, the voodoo zombie is like a person in a trance, to where like
it's still alive basically.
Yeah, and the reanimated zombies, it's a living dead.
Right, exactly. Yeah, the whole thing about and there's been all sorts of studies about it, right? But the concept of the dead coming back to eat us, there's so many psychological implications to that thing, and it speaks volumes of the way we deal with death, the way we historically have thought of death and afterlife and the meaning of life itself, So it's very interesting the way Romero made that first Night of the Living Dead movie with just presenting just the dead coming back to eat us with almost no context. It was just all left to what is your inner fear, put it in a zombie,
Yeah, it had a very strong social stance too.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
At the end of the movie.
Yes.
Maybe it was like underline, like that's what they were trying to push for. These rednecks were, coming through and cleaning house and basically, taking out all the living dead, and then, one gets that wild hair up his ass, and he's like, oh look, we got one up here.
Yeah.
I just saw it as like, they saw another being. They couldn't tell what it was in the house moving.
Yeah, and he gets shot.
And they just assumed that it was another one of the dead.
Yeah.
And then they shoot it.
Yeah. I don't think the social commentary is that heavy-handed in this instance, but yeah, I mean, it was the 1960s, and a lot of things could be said about that. But yeah, I agree with you. I think in the end, Romero just made it that way because I don't know the survivalist aspect of it. There might have been a commentary on as much as you fight, as much as you struggle, death will come for you no matter what.
Yeah. My number one is John Carpenter.
Oh.
So, obviously, you know I'm a huge Halloween fan.
Yeah.
John Carpenter has made a ton of movies besides Halloween, and very good movies.
Yeah.
Some people, might disagree with me, but I think pretty much everything I've seen from Carpenter has been really good. You've got The Thing, you've got They Live, Escape from New York. One of my other favorites is Vampires.
Oh yeah, I remember that one.
Yeah, James Woods, and it's just phenomenal in that movie.
Yeah.
I love him. The Fog, Dark Star was another one. Yeah, he's got like this array of movies. Is it Big Trouble in Little China?
Oh yeah.
So not only is he's doing horror, but he's also doing like action comedy.
Action movies, yeah.
But Escape from New York, that could be taken both ways. It could be an action movie and somewhat of a horror movie, with the dystopia of the world of how it was, becoming. And then he came back for the Master of Horrors collections. They picked a bunch of horror directors, and I think he was one of the first directors that they chose to get it going. So he did. I think they were set to do not two features, but two shorts each.
Okay.
I don't know if you ever saw that series.
No, I think I missed it.
Yeah, it was a really good series. Probably have the pirate get that one too. Yeah, they all the horror directors of the late 70s, 80s, and then even up to the 90s. They basically brought them in. I don't know if they gave them scripts or had them write their own scripts, and then they had them direct these movies. Or I think it was probably something that was given to them. Like, here, this is your movie. Show us your interpretation of what the script is.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, that sounds interesting.
But yeah, he's put out so much good stuff, and he's also an accomplished composer. So not only did he write Halloween, he also scored it and composed all the music for it. And I think he did it with a couple of other movies that he did. But he's hands down for modern day horror directors, to me, is my number one. So that's my Mount Rushmore.
Absolutely. There's the Mount Rushmores.
All right, so
cool.
Like I said, if you guys disagree with our picks and our lists, tell us in the comments what you guys thought, who you would pick. Okay, moving on. We have our movie reviews, and like I said earlier, we have Five Nights at Freddy's, Lisa Frankenstein, and Stop Motion. So we'll start with Five Nights at Freddy's. So my first introduction to this was through my son, who a couple years back was telling me about this video game, and I had no idea what the hell he was talking about.
Yeah, me neither.
Years later, lo and behold, they decide to make a movie out of it, as true Hollywood likes to do, exploit as much as possible. This was done by Blumhouse. For not really knowing too much about it, I thought it was a pretty decent movie. It was. I enjoyed watching it.
Mm-hmm.
And the cast is pretty good. What'd you think of it?
Yeah, also like you, I had no idea what the game was about, or had never heard of it. I think, from what I understand, it was like a phone app, like a game on your phone or something like that, and a lot of people were playing it on like Twitch and things like this. I have no idea. So I also went in kind of blind to watch this movie. All I knew was that it was based on some other thing. Basically, I took it as, well, it's basically an evil or a possessed Chuck E. Cheese or something.
Yeah, definitely.
And I looked at the cast and I was like, yeah, let's watch this. It was entertaining enough. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I like Josh Hutcherson. Definitely love Matthew Lillard.
Yeah, for me, he was the best part of the movie. Yeah, a nice surprise when I saw him. I was like, oh, hey, there he is.
Yeah, and definitely this episode will have spoilers, so if you don't want to have spoilers, then you need to go watch it, come back and listen.
Full spoiler reviews, guys.
But yeah, and then Mary Stuart Masterson, I love her work, but I was also surprised of like the character that she played. She was very typical Karen,
Yeah.
that family member that you love to hate.
Right.
I really enjoyed. I think it's is that her, Elizabeth Lale.
This is Lil. I don't remember her.
She was the cop.
Yeah. I don't think I've ever seen her or anything else though.
Yeah, I don't think I've seen her anything else. It says that she was in Once Upon a Time on ABC's like their Disney show.
Oh, right.
Where she played Anna.
Mm-hmm. Never saw that.
So, like, if you've seen that show, that's where she's from. And then she's also, she plays Guinevere Beck in the series called You. It was based off a book series, which actually was a very good show. And I recognized her, but I was like trying to pinpoint her, and I couldn't figure out where I'd seen her before. And when I looked at the Wikipedia and I saw that she was Guinevere Beck, and I was like, oh, that's right. Because my wife read those books, and she made me watch the TV show. But, surprisingly, the TV show was really good.
I did enjoy the fact that the characters were not just one-dimensional. They give the main character quite a cool background story. Although I don't know that it made too much of an impact later on in the movie. It kind of got swept to the side a little bit, but I did appreciate that they put meat on the bones of the character.
Yeah, I appreciate that too. That that it wasn't just these animatronics, that were possessed for no reason. I did quite enjoy the story that they gave it, but also it's one of those kind of touchy things, with child abduction and murder. That's really kind of a weird level to be at.
Yeah.
But the premise of it overall, it made sense. To me, it made sense, that this could happen. And then, seeing like who the actual killer was.
Yeah, apparently from what I gather, all of the lore, there's actually quite a deep lore involved in the games and the overall story. And from what I hear from people who are very familiar, my brother is definitely a big time gamer, and he knows a little bit more than me, although this game wasn't his thing. But he did point out that a lot of the character traits from the animatronics are not really exposed in the movie, that you don't really get a sense of who each one of them is. And the Matthew Lillard character actually has more story behind it too, and ahead of them too. So I'm assuming there might be a sequel to this movie, because according to some people I spoke to, there's a lot more story to be told.
Yeah, it actually says right here that they do have a sequel set up coming in 2025.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. The way it ended, the way the movie ended, it did give me that impression that the story continues.
See, my question is, even like I said, I liked the story that they gave us now, but is that the same story that is in the video game?
From what I understood, not quite. The addition of the main character in the movie is something you don't really see in the. It was made for the movie.
But like Freddy, Bonnie, Chica, Foxy, and Mr. Cupcake,
all of them are there. Yeah.
But are they basically possessed by these children that were murdered? That's what I'm getting at.
That's what I understood from the movie, but since I haven't played the game, I have no idea. But
I don't know if maybe your brother said anything about it or not.
No, I don't think he knows that much. But
I'll ask my son then. See if he knows.
He probably knows a lot more.
Because he was all about it at one point, and then all of a sudden it was like it wasn't cool. Like all these kids in elementary school were like Five Nights at Freddy this, Five Nights at Freddy that, and then all of a sudden one day it was like no, Five Nights at Freddy's no good.
Oh,
what happened?
Oh no, yeah. From what I understood, you would enjoy it a lot more if you knew the lore from the video game, but which sort of tells me that the movie wasn't very good at exposing that. You know, a movie should have done a better job at telling us or caring more for these characters through the lore. You know, if they do have all of that material available, why didn't they use it? I don't know.
Interesting. What would you rate this movie?
I give it 2.5 stabs out of 5.
2.5. Okay. Yeah, I think it's kind of it's middle ground, run of the mill, you know, movie. I like I said, I enjoyed the story. I was intrigued. I didn't wander, you know, looking for something else to watch. I watched it from start to finish. But I would probably give it 3 stabs out of 5.
Okay.
Just because, like I said, it's just right in the middle. You know, it could have been better story. Could have had a different story. You know, I did, like I said, I went in like you, blind, and it was just kind of, I was just going off of what was, you know, being presented in front of me, other than knowing that it was a video game, and that's really it.
Yeah. I hope to see Lillard back in the sequel. I think he will be, and you know, Blumhouse does bring a good quality production. I just don't care too much for their scripts and their
it's certain scripts and certain directors.
Yeah. It's hit and miss for me, that studio.
Yeah.
Mostly miss.
All right, so that's Five Nights at Freddy's. If you guys haven't seen it, check it out. Or if you don't give a fuck about video games that turned into movies, then don't see it.
Yeah.
I don't really care. All right, moving on. Our next movie is Lisa Frankenstein. So this was a movie written by Diablo Cody, directed by Robin Williams' daughter, Zelda Williams. So super
directorial
cool.
Debut.
Yeah. So this is her directorial debut. So her first movie, and it is a horror comedy. And this one stars Catherine Newton and Cole Sprouse. So Catherine Newton is no stranger to the horror element. She's from Supernatural. She had a reoccurring role on there. And then Cole Sprouse, he is one of the twins from like Disney's shows, like The Sweet Life of Zack and Cody, I think it was what it was called. But he's also in the Archie TV show Riverdale.
Ah, okay.
So he plays Jughead.
Cool.
There's a couple other cast members in this movie. I've never seen or heard of them before, but the one that I do recognize is Carla.
How
do you pronounce her last name?
Gugino.
Yeah,
I think that's what it is.
Yeah, so I know her from quite a few different movies, especially like Sin City.
The Watchmen.
Oh yeah, The Watchmen.
Yeah, a bunch of others.
San Andreas. Oh, that's right. She played The Rock's like wife or a strange wife or something like that. In that, yeah, she was Sally Jupiter in Watchmen. She was in Sucker Punch. Night at the Museum. I don't really know what she did in Night at the Museum. She was in Snake Eyes with Nicolas Cage. Oh yeah, Son-in-Law. Oh wow, she was super young in that. I saw that in the theater with Pauly Shore. Oh yeah, and this other one. I haven't seen this one, but I want to see this one. Gunpowder Milkshake.
Oh yeah, that does look interesting.
Yeah, that one's really cool. It's got Karen Gillian from whatchamacallit, Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah, recently she was in Fall of the House of Usher, a series I think on Netflix.
I haven't got to see that yet.
Really cool. I've seen the first couple episodes. It's looking good.
Same with the what's her face, Daddario Witches show, Alexandria Daddario. She's in that. It's like based on one of the Anne Rice books.
Oh, the one with the witches, right?
Yeah. I can't think of the name of it, but yeah, both of those I wanted to see, and I just never got around to watching them. So, anyways, so Lisa Frankenstein. this is actually a fun little take on Frankenstein. We have Lisa Swallows, who basically lives with her dad because her mother got murdered, and her dad remarries and
played by Joe Crest.
Yeah. Her dad remarries and he marries Carla, her character, and she has a daughter who's like the cheerleader and the cool girl of school, but basically she takes her under her wing and is always trying to push her to her friends and everybody and give her pep talks, and she doesn't shun her or is embarrassed by her. She's always trying to be a good sister or stepsister to her, which is funny in its own right. But the premise of it is that she's just an outcast, and that's kind of how people treat her. And she makes this really weird wish one night at a graveyard that she hangs out at, and the grave happens to be Cole Sprouse's character. They have one of those tall headstones with a bust on it, where it's from the chest up. She talks to it all the time, but she makes some
reads poetry.
Yeah, reads poetry, does all this shit. But yeah, one night she makes some weird wish about wanting to be with him, and then lightning strikes later that night in the graveyard, and then he comes to life and then finds her, and then it's just craziness ensues after that.
Yeah, a little cool callbacks to the actual Mary Shelley novel. Initially, I was, man, this movie is not for me. The whole teenage angst angle. I'm a 43-year-old man. What am I doing watching this movie? Especially the way it looks. The ambience of it is very. I don't know. I'll call it young. It's very young, but even though it's not really my cup of tea, I can recognize when a movie is doing something that hasn't been done before necessarily. But it did give me vibes of when I was a kid and I would watch Tim Burton movies. There's a lot of Tim Burtonisms in here, in terms of the looks of it and the aesthetics. It's the 1980s in the movie, so a lot of that,
Yeah, and I think that's probably where you're getting that from, because I think a lot of his movies are set in the 80s.
Yeah.
So it's got that very 80s feel. A lot of different throwbacks to 80s culture.
The aesthetics, the big hair, the neon lights, a lot of the color hues, are a lot of the color palette, hues of purples and pinks and pistachio and pastel colors, all put together on the foreground in a very dark backdrop, which is very pleasing to the eye, honestly. And the callbacks to the actual novel were very ingenious by Diablo Cody and Zelda Williams. Definitely a good movie. Not so much. I'm not the demographic for it, but it is a good movie.
Yeah, I definitely enjoyed it. I enjoyed the character building. The dad was so freaking oblivious.
Yeah.
Throughout the entire movie, which is great. He was just the stereotypical I'm just busy reading my paper. Leave me alone. I just I'll agree and say whatever, and if the wife nudges me, then I'll be like, mm-hmm. Do what your mom says.
Yeah.
Type of deal. And then, like I said, the sister, she was very atypical of the high school, cheerleader.
Yeah, the popular girl.
Yeah, she was the popular girl. Had the crew, but like I said, she took Catherine's character in as her own. Try to give her some guidance. They
had good rapport on camera.
Yeah. And then Carla's character was the atypical asshole stepmom.
Yeah, the evil stepmom from the soaps.
So very nice to her own daughter, but the cool thing too was the daughter the sister, stepsister, she was always kind of defending, Lisa to the mom, saying, oh, you can't say that, or you can't do that, or mom, trying to calm her down or chill her out. So that was really cool.
Yeah, we would stand up to her stepsister. Yeah,
just the comedy that was like infused into it was just great. Just the way, pretty much the entire movie, like Cole's character as the creature didn't speak. He would use like mannerisms or grunts or just little things, and just some of the comedy, the timing that he had, like the scene where they're at the graveyard with I think it was where they put the mom in the grave, and then like a cop comes by and they're like, she's like, wait, you guys, this is a crime scene, and he like walks over and grabs her and picks her up and just drops her in the hole.
Yeah.
It's just out of the blue. It's like he just
yeah, a little quirks in the movie, very quirky, as the movie should be.
I did enjoy the tanning bed. That was one of my favorite like shticks. Is that kind of like the gurney or whatever it is, the bed that Dr. Frankenstein had his monster on.
Yeah, hoist him up to lift him.
So the tanning bed was that for them in this movie. He needed like parts because he was missing some parts, or some parts didn't work. And so like they were throughout the movie, they would get these certain body parts, and she would sew them on, and then she would take them to the tanning bed, and the tanning bed would, like, because it was on the fritz, so it would, like, it zapped her a couple times when she was trying to get tan, because the sister was trying to help her out, to get tan and stuff like that. And then it's just funny that she would use that. She's like, oh yeah, this is perfect. We'll zap him and see if it works. And so
yeah, those gags really worked. A lot of the parts, I started noticing that it was more like a reverse. It was the Frankenstein monster, but in reverse. Like he was really non-functional at first, and little by little, Lisa is constructing him. And if you notice, a lot of the parts that Lisa gets, because eventually the monster becomes like a serial killer, right? So I noticed a couple of things, like the body parts have some sort of correlation with Lisa's antagonists in the movie. So the ear comes from the stepmother's ear, and
because he's still wearing the freaking earring.
Yeah,
which was funny.
And there's sort of symbolism there, right? Because the mom would never listen to her, so it was kind of like that's why the ear. Then we have the hand of the boy that sort of assaults her at the theater. I mean, at the party.
Yeah, it's her lab partner, and like he takes her into the upstairs bedroom and is like
sort of roofies her or something, right? Or
no,
does she get roofied?
No, I don't think she got roofied. So she's trying to impress this boy that she likes.
She's got this other crush,
and then like
that was weird to me.
And then he has a friend who was like, "Oh, I got these drugs, and we should take them." And she's like basically trying to play it off, like, "Oh yeah, I take drugs." And and then she like takes a big dose of it and just like fucks her up.
Yeah.
And then that's when I think the lab partner sees her at the party and thinks,
now's my chance.
Yeah, now's my chance. And he takes her upstairs, and he basically does the old like, I'm gonna put my hand on your chest, and you're gonna put your hand on my crotch, and he's like, come on, Lisa.
Yeah. Well, he ends up losing that hand and giving it to the monster, and then obviously at the end, he gets the crush's penis, because whatever, he ends up not cheating on her, but getting with her stepsister.
Yeah, that's the only thing I don't know, is if the stepsister was naive to that or knew what she was doing.
Yeah.
So that's the only thing, because
the whole movie she's really nice. You know?
She seemed to be,
and all of a sudden there's a betrayal.
Little upset, and like it just seems to be kind of like brushed off afterwards.
Yeah. They didn't make it clear if she really knew that Lisa had a crush on that boy. Either way, she got the penis. Put on the monster. So there was symbolisms here and there, with the body parts and how the monster is being constructed.
Yeah, very quirky, but very cute.
Yeah, definitely. I see it as a cult classic in the making. I'm sure a lot of young people are going to look back at this movie and bring it back as a cult classic, I think.
Yeah, definitely.
It certainly has all the makings for it, and Diablo Cody has done that before. Juno is still regarded as a cult classic in some circles. One theory I did hear about this is that another Diablo Cody movie, Jennifer's Body, is actually in the same universe as this. I don't know if they're trying to make it a sort of like a franchise, or what would they call it, like the Diablo verse or something. If there's really any connection or not, but
it's like everything has a verse.
Yeah. But yeah, that was another thing that I heard about.
That's interesting. I didn't hear that, but that would make sense. I mean, these people, when they create their own their own setting and their own little world, that they would want it somehow to be connected.
Yeah. And another thing I might be reading too much into, but like at the end of the movie, Cole Sprouse is wearing these like rainbow suspenders, and that reminded me of Cork and Mindy. And since it's Zelda Williams, it wouldn't be too much of a stretch that she would be paying some sort of tribute to her dad that way. I don't know. Maybe I'm reading too much into it, but
no,
that seemed.
I didn't even think about that, and that never dawned upon me until you say it right now, and I was like, oh,
yeah, because
I can see it in my head now of that scene. So yeah, that would definitely make sense. Paying a little homage to her dad. But yeah, overall, I thought it was a really well-rounded movie. Wasn't a great movie, but it wasn't a bad movie.
No.
So, like me, honestly, I would rate this also a 3 out of 5 stabs.
Yeah, me too. 3 out of 5 stabs. I could see how this movie would be like, I don't know, Edward Scissorhands was in the day for me.
Yeah, I mean, it to me, it seems like you said, it's like very Tim Burton-esque in the genre of like the 80s, and the way the sets were set up, and just overall, just that feel. It gave me that feel.
Yeah.
But obviously, it was missing a lot of like Tim Burton's qualities and touches that he puts in there. But definitely, I can't say for sure it's very Diablo Cody, because like all her stuff is just kind of weird and out there.
Yeah.
Also, it seems like very Middle America, and that's what.
All right.
That's kind of where this seems like it was set in time, was somewhere in Middle America.
Right.
And that's where Juno was set, and I think Jennifer's Body was also set like that. I don't think it was at California, New York.
Right.
So. But yeah, like I said, just 3 out of 5 stabs. It's one of those that you can take it or you can leave it. But definitely, if you watch it, you'll enjoy it. From start to finish. You're definitely not going to be like, man, when's this movie over?
Right. No.
You definitely get lost in it. So it's definitely a good one. So kudos to you, Zelda. All right, and our last movie that we have is stop motion. But I guess with that, we should, since we did in the beginning.
Oh yeah. I'm getting a little dry in the throat here.
Yeah.
This is as good as time as any.
Yep. I'll let you guys know about our unofficial sponsor, Liquid Death. So Death the Plastic, and it's time to murder Ollin's thirst here.
Yes, please.
He brought in a couple of good ones here. I've actually never tried this one, but he got me Cherry Obituary.
Cherry Obituary. It kind of rhymes, I guess.
Cherry Obituary.
I got me the classic Severed Lime. I did try the other day Blueberry Buzzsaw. Kind of a mouthful there, but that one was really good. It's one of the teas. Mm-hmm. It's a tea. Good. It's a good one.
Just a sparkling water.
Right. Yeah. The cherry is a sparkling water. Yeah.
And you had this one before, right?
Yes. That it's become one of my favorites. Mm-hmm. Severed Lime is a classic now, but I'm really digging the cherries right now.
Okay. Well, I can't wait to try it.
Well, let's do it.
All right. Here's to you, Liquid Death.
Listen to that fizz.
Oh yeah. It's got way more cherry flavor than most of the other sparkling flavors. A lot of the other sparkling waters like have like a hint of the flavor of what it tells you it is.
No, not this one.
Yeah, the cherry one is really strong with cherry, but it's not overpowering.
Right. Yeah. No, this one, Liquid Death. You really made the cherry pop. Sorry.
All right. So stop motion. This one is a British live action stop motion movie.
Yeah.
I fucking hated the beginning of it.
Yeah.
This movie
it took a little bit to get into. Yeah.
Yeah. When I started watching it, I instantly wanted to turn it off. I things that popped in my head was fuck this movie, fuck this movie, and fuck this chick's mom.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah, the mom was so. Yeah, but I guess that was the purpose, right? So the plot is basically about a woman who is working on a stop motion movie, and I guess her mom is also a stop motion artist of some sort. And
I think she's like the stop motion artist.
Yeah.
And so like she falls to like ailment. So she has like I guess severe arthritis in her hands. So she's not able to move the little figures, the clay, to do the stop motion. So she has her daughter helping her, and just is an asshole to her.
Yeah. The whole time.
Yeah, the whole time. I mean, she did such a good job in this role. Like you just fucking hate her right off the bat.
Yeah.
Also, like, because it's it's British, I'm sure, like in England and Great Britain, and these people are these actors and stuff that are in the movie, are probably known over there. But I have no idea who any of these people are.
Yeah, no, I've never seen them before.
These are all unknown to me.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't even know how to pronounce the star's name. Like Aisling, Yeah, I'm a fucking butcher this. I apologize for fucking your name up. But yeah, if you look it up, you can try to figure out how to pronounce her name. Franchosi, I guess is how it's pronounced.
Okay.
Aisling Franchosi. Yeah, good thing for Wikipedia.
Yeah.
But yeah, nothing I've seen her in. It's all British. All British all the time. Yeah, so she's helping her mom make these stop motions, or at least the one that she's working on. She wants to finish this, and like at some point, like while she's doing it, and her mom's like just fucking going up one side and down the other to her, telling her to help her out, and then she was like trying to tell her like oh, I've got ideas, and basically just gets laughed at, and just just does everything she can to like basically like talk down to her daughter. And it's just like, you just fucking hated her. At least I did.
Yeah.
So her mom falls ill, and so she decides that she's going to, take over and try to finish the film for her mom. And the thing I don't understand is like, the mom is ill in the hospital, and then she goes and rents an apartment somewhere instead of staying in the fucking house that she's at where the mom, I'm guessing they live together, but she like rents an apartment somewhere, like a flat or whatever they're calling it over there, and sets up a studio. Like she sets it all up and starts to work on the film at this place. That's the one thing it never got to me, or maybe I just overlooked something, but I just never understood why the fuck she left the house, rented this apartment to make to finish the movie.
Yeah.
When she already had it set up in I'm guessing it was like the attic of the house.
Right.
So I just don't get that.
Yeah, no, that sort of came out of nowhere. Like, I mean, you can make assumptions like, I don't know, she needed her own office or her own space, right, or whatever. But yeah, they never explained a lot of things. There's a little, I wouldn't call them plot holes, but just things that don't get explained. And you just sort of like, okay, that happened, I guess, for no reason, or what's the reason? You don't know. Okay, let's go to the next scene. It's like,
yeah, and then so while she's there, she's like, she's visited by some little girl who basically just kind of like tries to befriend her, like, and then, you know, is invited in because she's like, oh, what are you doing? Because she could see like the area that she's working in from the door, and then kind of just walks herself in and then starts critiquing her work.
Right.
This little girl, like, she's been doing stop motion her entire life,
right,
and she knows better.
All 10 years. Yeah. It was very apparent to me, not from the beginning, but like, yeah, the way she just appears and disappears in scene is just like, you know, enter left and just sort of disappear out of nowhere. It was kind of apparent to me that the girl was just like in her mind.
See, I think I was just so like distraught from like the mom, and I was trying to figure out what the fuck was going on at most points of what was happening. Like I'm still hung up on the fucking apartment.
Yeah.
You know, and then like this little girl shows up, so my mind was just not like, oh, let's focus on the little girl. You know, I was just thinking, oh, this asshole girl of this apartment complex, you know, has nothing better to do with her time, and she's coming in, you know,
I could see that.
Trying to be a bossy little bitch. And, you know, it's like, oh, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Oh, this is super cool, but you're doing it wrong.
I've had little neighbors like that before.
Yeah, it's like, mind your own fucking business.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like what I got from it. It wasn't until almost towards the end when I realized that, it was like something in her psyche, and I was just like, oh my God.
Yeah. In the end, I took it as the symbolism would be sort of like loss of innocence, themes of having to come to terms with some sort of childhood trauma. Obviously, the mom being a complete cunt all the time brought those type of themes onto the table as well. And there's a scene at the end, or near the end, where she drowns the girl, right? Or chokes her or something, kills her, and then right after she just comes back out like, hey, here I am, you didn't kill me. But I guess that's a recurring theme we've been seeing more recently. It reminded me of the movie No One Will Save You, that scene where she has to kill herself. It's the clone that the aliens make, and she has to kill herself to like sort of like a rebirth type ritual.
Oh, is that a Jordan Peele movie?
No, it's the one with the aliens, and we reviewed it not too long ago. No One Will Save You.
How do I forget this shit?
It's kind of recent. I forget the name of the lady. Caitlin Dever. I remember giving this movie a really good review. This is one that I really liked.
Yeah, that's why I was kind of on the fence with this one. This one really like was messing with me.
Yeah, but
there's like barely any dialogue in this movie.
Right, that's the one.
It's like, what the fuck?
Yeah. But it reminded me of that movie of when she has to kill herself, and it's sort of like a rebirth ritual, and that's what that scene reminded me. But in the end, it was more like a psychological thing that the main character was experiencing. I don't know if it worked that well. Yeah, it was a bit confusing at times, and it left me sort of to like interpret symbolisms, and I don't know, at times I probably missed the mark completely, and which means I misunderstood the movie.
You know, I understand directors and story writers when they're trying to do this stuff, but when I'm watching it, like, the last thing I want to do is fucking math.
Yeah.
And every time I have to try and interpret something that somebody has put on screen, to me, it loses me, because I'm just like, I'm not stupid, but I want to be entertained.
Yeah.
I don't want to feel like I'm at school, or I don't want to have to work, you know, for what they're trying to accomplish and put out for me to visually see.
Yeah, it was a bit of a puzzle chore, this movie.
You know, I've seen American movies where they kind of do something similar, but putting the puzzle pieces together is a lot easier.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not sure what they were trying to accomplish with this one. You know, I was just at a loss for it, and it's right off the bat. Like, it got better in the middle for me, especially like when she just decided, you know, fuck her mom's movie, and she decided to make her own movie.
Yeah.
You know, but then I was also like, why are you listening to this little girl?
Yeah.
Do your own shit. Don't listen to what the fuck she's saying. And she's like, and that's what it was basically turning into. It was like, she's like, oh, I can't move on because, the little girl has all the answers. And, she's going to tell me the next part of the movie. It's like, make your own fucking movie. And then like her friend, like she was like talking to her friend, and her friend saw the shit, and which is weird that she hangs out in a circle of people that are also into stop motion. And and the bitch basically like rips her off.
Yeah.
And she calls her out on it, and I was like, yeah, you go for it and destroy that shit. She was getting fucking crazy, and I was like, yeah. This is when everything started to like, get good for me at least.
Right.
But then it went right back to like fucking, the stupid little girl, like, oh, go get the dead fox and, use the flesh. And
oh, right, the fox. Yeah.
But I mean, that was still, to me, was super cool because it's like I heard in circles that using actual like meat for your puppets and things like that gives it a little more depth to the characters that they're trying to create, opposed to using clay. But still, I know nothing about stop motion, so. But that's just what I heard. But yeah, it's just the beginning and then also the very end. The very end was just a super mind fucked. I was just like, what the fuck is going on? Like,
yeah.
I was so mad by the time the movie was done. I was like, fuck you.
Yeah. The thing that didn't trigger me though was this thing they called the Ashman. I wanted to know more about the Ashman, and they kind of, I don't know, they left it kind of dangling there.
See, I like the mysteriousness of it. I like that they created this, this entity that was the evil of her story.
Yeah.
But I think it would have ruined it more if they had more story or more in depth or more of a background on the character. It's just this random fucking person that they call the Ashman. And it just, to me, it goes back to like some kind of lore. Could have been like a fairy tale or something, like people tell their around the campfire, beware of the Ashman, and not knowing the background of it, because like, when they tell stories like that, they don't give you background information on that. So you just kind of go off of what's being told at that moment. And that's kind of what I got out of the Ashman.
Yeah. And going into the stop motion, that was actually one of the best parts of the movie, was the actual stop motion. And I don't know, at times I was like, you know what, can we just watch the movie within the movie, because that seems more interesting.
Yeah, and I agree with you on that. And then also, like I said, the other podcast that I've been listening to had said the same exact thing. They were everybody was more interested in the actual movie that was being made.
Yeah, that looked really interesting. Yeah. And the stop motion was incredible. Like the little creatures and stuff, they were really amazing. And I was like, I want more of that. And when I saw the poster for the movie and it's called stop motion, I was like, oh great, a stop motion horror movie. You don't see a lot of that. But then when the movie started, I was like, wait, where's stop motion? Like,
yeah, I felt like I was duped as well, because I was like, man, this is live action. What is going on? And I'm like, oh fuck, it's about someone who's doing stop motion. Like, how tedious is that? Like, I give it up to those people, but I could never do that. That is just like endless amount of time that you have to put into something that you hope turns out great.
Right. Yeah, and like the title was really suggestive to me. Stop motion, like when something stops moving, like when somebody dies or something. Like they could have done something with that, or at least that's where my mind was going. And I got something completely not that.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay.
So I guess, overall, I wasn't very happy with it. And if I was to give it a rating, it would definitely be 1.5 stabs out of 5.
1.5, yeah. I'm giving it 2. It would have been just the 1, but I give it 2 because visually the stop motion stuff was really, really cool, and I do appreciate that. But the story I did not care for.
I think if we would have gotten the stop motion that was happening in the movie, like that movie, like that definitely would have probably been like a 4 stabs. Yeah. Because it looked real interesting. I love the concept. Like I said, I liked the whole Ashman. scenario, like where you just don't know anything about this, this villainous character that's coming for you.
It had good elements.
And for obviously, it's the little girl was something of her mind, a figment of her being portrayed for some reason, but for the little girl, like creating this story, I thought it was actually pretty good.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, visually is really cool. I did like. I would have wished they would have made the stop motion story sort of bleed out into the real world of the movie a lot more. They kind of did it with that little scene with the little creatures running around on top of her on the bed. That was really cool, and I wish they would have done more of that.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so that's kind of my feelings on the movie itself. Let us know what you guys think in the comments. Was it your cup of tea? Did you enjoy it? Did you not like it? Let us know what your favorite parts are of it. If you did, and if you didn't, let us know why. All right, so that's our movie reviews for episode 18. We had Five Nights at Freddy's, Lisa Frankenstein, and stop motion. I gave Five Nights at Freddy 3 because
mine was 2.5.
Yours was 2.5. Lisa Frankenstein I also gave it 3.
3.
And then stop motion I was 1.5, and you were 2.
2.
Okay. All right. Well, that concludes this episode. Like I said, I just wasn't a fan of that movie.
No, me neither.
But yeah, this was episode 18. We have 3 more podcasts on movie reviews, so we'll be getting to those, and hopefully be releasing them like one right after the other. You can find us on all of our social medias. You can see our Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, Tumblr. You can find the podcast on YouTube and Rumble, on the Spotify for podcasters, because I think pretty much all the other podcast sites that we had listed are kind of gone away now.
Yeah. I think Podbean is gone, or one of those. I forget which one.
Apple Podcast, they're still around, but like Google Podcast turned into YouTube Music. You can find all of our horror trivia on the TikTok and all the other social medias. And you can always find any and all information about us at our website, www.thehorrorscene.com. If you do enjoy the music, that the intro and outro music is by a band named Zayo. Currently, they have an album out called The Crimson Corridor. If you go on to their website, it's zayoonline.net. You can actually find some of their newer videos that they have released. They have full sets from some of the venues that they've been playing, and then also they have a new one out called Live at the Church. So definitely check it out. You have anything else to add?
No, if you made it to the end, thank you for listening.
And we definitely appreciate all of you guys. So remember to stay creepy and keep it spooky. From our grave to yours, these have been your
Last Rites.